Greetings and welcome once again to today's edition of Ask the Devil. I would like to remind you again that for those of you who have not viewed this program before, I am not the devil. I am merely representing his lowness to answer some questions from viewer inquiries. Our first question today is from Enzo T. of South Chicago, Illinois. Enzo asks, have you ever considered going to church and studying the Bible to understand the real truth? Enzo, I would say to you, of course. In fact, that's where I learned much of it. Janet L. of Eyelid, New Hampshire asks, can a person go to hell for committing suicide? Janet, I believe I can tell you right now with absolute certainty, I really don't know for sure, but I'd try to avoid it at all costs. It's not that I believe there is a hell, you understand, but if there is, I suggest you not go there. It doesn't sound like, from what I've heard, a very pleasant place. Now, I'm not sure Jesus was really serious about that, but I choose to believe it doesn't really exist. Because if I found out it did exist, Satan would have to be a liar. And we all know he would never lie to us, would he? So, as your answer to that, Buzz M. of Brothel Falls, Idaho asks, you talk a lot like my cousin Charlie, and he committed suicide 2 years ago. Have you ever considered suicide? Well, Buzz, I used to think about it a lot, to be honest with you, until I really started serving the devil in earnest. Then I realized he could use me more here than if I took my life. I did have a great uncle who tried to commit suicide, and then, as I recall, he got sent to prison for killing the wrong man. It seemed like such a foolish mistake. It was kind of embarrassing, in fact, to the whole family at the time. But when we got to like using it to lighten up some of the family picnics, it worked out all for the best, you might say. Lars P. from Swedeville, Minnesota asks, can you communicate with the dead? Lars, I suppose if you're dead, I guess I can. Just kidding, I think. Actually, I have enough problems communicating with the living, in all honesty. A little paranormal humor there, I guess. The truth is, there are too many dead people I don't want to talk to. So, I just leave it alone. Natasha R. of Dead Stump, Alaska writes, will the devil give me stuff? How do I ask him for stuff? Well, Natasha, he gives you stuff all the time. Yeah, you just don't know it. For one thing, anything you obtain through your natural instinct of greed and many dishonest means essentially come from Lucifer. He might not have created them, but since he is in charge of the riches of this world, well, you can credit him with your obtaining it. And if you want more, ask him for it. He's never too busy to take time to attend to the needs of his worshippers. Lillian T. of Turmoil, Vermont asks, what is meant by what some Christians especially refer to as being born again? Were you ever born again? Lillian, I would have to say I most certainly was born again. And I would say if you have never been born again, I strongly recommend it. In fact, I have some friends who have been born again many, many times. In fact, some of them at least once or twice a day. So yes, I recommend that you be born again. It's exciting and fun. Bucky H. from Hellville, Texas asks, shouldn't you be concerned that making programs about Satan will alert Christians as to what he's up to? Well, Bucky, I'd say not really, because you see, many of them already know. This is just intended to teach and encourage those who have already decided not to follow Christ. And some who have followed him for a while and then decided to come back over to our side. We have, as you may know, a very big tent. Gunther W. of Kraut Falls, Oregon asks, aren't you afraid that you'll scare people away from worshiping the devil? Not really. You see, anyone who doesn't worship Christ doesn't have much of an option anyway. Besides, it makes it easier for our side anyway. Larry M. of Little Turkey, Oklahoma asks, not everyone who doesn't follow Christ necessarily serves Satan, do they? Larry, they most certainly do. And you see, that's the beauty of the plan. There are so many forms in which our Lord below exists for worship by many, by non-Christians. You see, they can serve their money or their car or some rock music star. It all translates to the same thing, the worship of the devil. Then it's not so much of a hassle. It allows for a lot of choice and individuality. A lot of people like that. Satan's not a one-size-fits-all type of God. I think it's a great idea.